Hello everyone, Bridget here and welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing episode 2 of my series breaking down TV show pilots, and today we are doing the extremely popular Netflix show Bridgerton. Now this one doesn't actually have an episode named Pilot, and it however is a pilot, and that is the first episode, Diamond of the First Water. For those of you who did not watch my last episode of this series, I will link it up here, and where I broke down the Supernatural pilot. And to summarize, I will be going over the aspects of a television pilot as I learned from the masterclasses by Shonda Rhimes and Issa Rae over on Masterclass. I will link the masterclasses down below if you want to go check them out. They're really good and very comprehensive, so I highly recommend them. The things I will be covering in this video are character setup, why today, what's the conflict, and series setup. Specifically in Shonda Rhimes' masterclass, she said to watch a lot of pilots and analyze them, so that is what I'm doing in this series. And coincidentally, Shonda Rhimes is the executive producer behind Bridgerton, so it is a nice segue into this show. So I hope you all enjoy my breakdown of this pilot, so let's just get straight into it.
Household of the Baron Featherington. 3 misses foisted upon the marriage market like sorrowful sows by their tasteless, tactless mamma. Far better odds might exist in the household of the widowed Viscountess Bridgerton. A shockingly prolific family, noted for its bounty of perfectly handsome sons and perfectly beautiful daughters. You must make haste! Should you think she heard me? How very perfect.
Okay. This is my first time pausing. So this whole sequence is a great way to set up the conflicting ideals and attitudes of the two main families. And right off the I can't remember the phrase. Right off the bat, Jesus, I couldn't even remember. We have the series set up where we get introduced to the world that we are stepping into. Obviously, it is Regency era, and there's this narrator. We don't know who she is yet, and it hasn't been revealed yet that nobody knows who she is. She just seems like this looming presence, and we have introduced to the dynamic of the Featherington family and then separately the Bridgerton family. Haven't met Daphne yet, but we see everybody else kind of being introduced to us. I'm probably not going to include that scene, but we're already getting introduced to what we can expect and the tone overall of the show. The kind of clashing tone of the sexualized male world, and then the juxtaposition of the presenting of the young ladies to the queen.
Today is a most important day, and for some, a terrifying one. For today is the day London's marriage-minded misses are presented to Her Majesty, the Queen.
that is a very upfront way to put the Why Today segment into the pilot. The Why Today segment is, why are we starting this journey today? And Bridgerton is a great example of showing that so clearly, because it is really the start of this new chapter of Daphne's life. And it really is what we follow for the show until, spoilers, she gets married. So this is like her journey for probably, I think, half of the show. So it starts us on the right foot and tells us what to expect for at least a few more episodes.
May God have mercy. A glimmer of displeasure, and the young lady's value plummets.
The difference in societal stature between the Featheringtons and the Bridgertons is really displayed in this scene,
Daphne Bridgerton,
as the Featheringtons are rather
Dowager Viscountess Bridgerton.
competitive with each other and kind of struggling to be in the spotlight, whereas Daphne and the other Bridgertons are really like in the spotlight already. And it's great to introduce that. We're only like a few minutes in, but you already really know where these people stand in society, which is very important in a show like this. So
Find love one day. Indeed, a love as pure as what my mom and papa once shared, if we are so fortunate. I really hope I'm able to continue such a grand tradition. Your dresses have arrived. Oh!
it's again important to set up the rules and the overall societal image, societal world that the series will follow. Even when you are studying it in history, it's important to walk in with the vague assumption that the audience doesn't know everything about this time and place, because some people don't know anything about the Regency era. I know a fair amount from watching Jane Austen, but the different take that different pieces take will give different views. So walking in and explaining certain parts of the world that we're walking into is very important. And I like the way they did that, where Daphne is explaining that their marriage her stance in society now will help her sisters find a better marriage, because that is not the case in the modern world, and marriage isn't such a huge societal, well, it is a societal pressure, but it isn't so, it doesn't impact your reputation in the same way that it did in the Regency era. So clarifying that is very important.
This one is quite ravishing.
Do not tell me that is yet another scandal sheet. Oh, no, this one is different. This one lists subjects by name in full.
Let me see.
That's again a really important setup, because it not only tells us that there were scandal sheets in this period, but it clarifies that Lady Whistledown is different from the others and that she's offering something new. So introducing her character in that way is really good.
Lady Whistledown. Lady Whistledown.
The author.
Do we know a Lady Whistledown? Surely Lady Whistledown cannot be her true name.
My condolences, Your Grace, for your father.
Very kind of you.
Kind of me. You hated the man.
It is so wonderful to see you, Lady Danbury.
Words I do not hear often enough. Come.
I always love their dynamic, and I love that it starts off right away, which is, it's really important to start the dynamic strong and to know it going into every scene, especially in the pilot, because you want to solidify how these people interact with each other. And one thing I also want to talk about very briefly, because it's not actually the reason I'm making this video, but the costume design in Bridgerton, and specifically the colors that they choose, are stunning. I'm not gonna say any more because I could make a whole video about the costume design and the colors of Bridgerton, so let me know in the comments if you want me to make one just geeking out about Bridgerton and the cinematography and everything, because I will.
The details of your return quiet, and when those vulgar mamas discover that there is an eligible duke present at
And
tonight's fete,
that
I
is
shall
a
be able to
seed
keep
of
this
the
secret
conflict.
no longer.
That is what I was hoping to discuss. I've only returned to London to deal with my late father's affairs. I'm afraid it leaves no time to... So...
There's making arrangements for only the most advantageous of matches. Of course, without my father here, that responsibility falls upon me.
A significant duty, Ned.
And we have Anthony's character set up.
Ensure her virtue remains free of any kind of defilement.
Daphne is fortunate. Every woman is not afforded such gallant protection.
Well, every woman is not a lady.
Of course.
And this
not,
is
my
good
lord.
setup for their character arc as we get introduced to their conflict, the conflict between their place in society and, yeah, overall just their characters, because Anthony is so dedicated to his family and Sienna is an independent woman in the lower class.
Opening ball at Danbury House is a most highly sought after invitation indeed.
Is that not the young lady who was caught with her gentleman last year? In Lady Mottram's conservatory? Unchaperoned. She's lucky her gentleman agreed
And we
to a
get
hasty marriage after she went to
introduced to the overall tendency for gossip in the show. We already had the introduction of Lady Whistledown, and now we have Lady Featherington and her friends gossiping about the various debutantes. So it is made clear that gossip is a very common occurrence in this society. So it's a very important seed to plant early on because it plays such a big role in the whole show. And this scene is a great setup for how
A man of any honor and seriousness.
tense and like mildly impersonal this kind of situation is made or is conducted, because we do see a few more of these over the course of the show, so it's good to set up how like interview-esque this situation is.
Your sizable dowry, even big.
I presume you know of him too.
And Mr. Worthington's second son, we shall find better. I'm sure
This whole dance sequence is such a setup for every story arc, pretty much, yeah, every story arc that we see in regards to romance. We see Penelope looking at Colin, we see Colin looking at Marina, and later on we have Daphne meeting the Duke. And that is basically, that is a lot of setup to have over the course of one location, over the course of one more or less scene. It's a very long scene, but it is still a scene.
Husbands. She's rather dowdy, is she not? Graceful, most civilized indeed.
Ah, yes. Establish the dynamics.
Indeed. Evening, Bridgerton. Yes, Bridgerton.
Roast each other. Love it. I love good roasting between two people. I know we're gonna end up together.
Daphne. I believe Lord Weatherby is
a wretched sonnet indeed.
Lord Byron, he's not.
You do not believe so? Good day, Pen.
Establish Penelope and Colin's friendship.
Lord Barbara is harmless. There'll be others.
Yes.
Lady Whistledown has all but declared me ineligible.
This
Worthy of the affection
Okay.
of the detestable simpleton and no one else.
This scene introduces Daphne's conflict. We have been introduced to the Duke's conflict, where he does not want to marry. He doesn't want to be in London. He doesn't want to be chased down by the mamas, as he puts it. And here we have Daphne's conflict introduced. She needs to marry, and Lady Whistledown has declared her ineligible. That's the word she used. Yes, I think so. Both of them, very clear conflicts. So, yeah, I really like this scene. This scene is really well done because it, again, introduces us to the world that we're stepping into and tells us this is what our characters need and this is what's stopping them from getting there.
Tell me, what others should ever want such damaged goods now?
You speak as if Lady Whistledown were to be held in higher regard than Her Majesty the Queen herself.
His Grace was fortunate to have you there with him as a child, after what happened to his mother. Awful. He's not what Whistledown writes. So is Daphne.
That's an important seed to plant, even though it's just in the next episode. I think it's in the next episode that we find out the Duke's backstory. It's great to plant those seeds of knowing that Lady Danbury was there for him when he was a kid, and the seed planted that his mother is no longer here, and obviously that something bad was present in his childhood.
His have certainly been made with our lens. What are you suggesting?
And the somewhat subtle, if you don't know the historical stuff, implication of the seed of Marina's pregnancy.
What should be so terrible about Bloomsbury? That the people there actually work for a living.
Well, she does seem to be someone with access.
Even though we got hints of the dynamic between Anthony and
You're a perfectly reasonable
Lady
mother to your
Bridgerton,
eldest daughter, Kate.
this
matchmaking
scene
scheme
really
transparently
solidifies
Lady
it.
Danbury. It will not work.
I can think of worse matches for Daphne than
Really showing their
I
dynamic
leave the two of you to be
and
friends.
hinting that it,
Which is why I know he
hinting
has abs.
that their relationship changed after her husband and Anthony's father passed away. I'm still curious about that.
Absolutely no intention of marrying.
Well, you must understand, all men make that assertion. Your father.
Do not bring
even-
father into this.
Just to solidify the
I suppose I
implied
should be
setup
happy.
from earlier, this scene is a catalyst for the whole rest of the season, for all of Marina's arc. Ah, yes,
Up until now, I've
all right.
had no legitimate excuse to dispense with you. But when Lord Featherington hears of this,
And I'm alone with two men.
I believe you're only with one man. The other
I
is-
shall be compromised just the same. Do you have any
Nah,
idea what would
foreshadowing.
happen if someone even suggested
Foreshadowing for later.
Marry me, Miss Bridgerton.
We need
Now, as far as
to
proposals
plant
go, that
seeds,
would be the
people.
least romantic
Plant
of all.
fucking seeds.
I suppose if someone were to find me here, it would be one way out of marrying him.
Oh, you can't possibly be thinking of marrying him. Trust I possess as much contempt for the author as you do.
And we finally get sincere conversation between these two, which
Their pride.
sets up their whole relationship later on. They tease each other, but they also speak sincerely and respect each other. Set up dynamics. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. Ah.
Do not
Okay.
worry, Your Grace. I believe such a win would be promptly forfeited indeed. I must go this way.
We can pretend to form an attachment.
At the end of a pilot, always, probably with some exceptions, ones I haven't found yet, at the end of a pilot, you have the event that starts the rest of the season. Or the series. Can be both. But usually one season. gets the audience hooked, gets the networks hooked. That's what that's what you can expect.
You presume Lady Whistler.
I presume Shorty must be precisely what we are.
Everything in the pilot building up to this moment, and now this is just the beginning. The pilot is only the beginning, people. It's just the beginning. And this starts their relationship, starts their whole arc together. And so good. So good.
You missed the most remarkable coup of the
I
season.
can't help but noticing.
It appears
This is major spoilers. So if you haven't watched the whole season 1, skip ahead. I can't help but noticing once Lady Whistledown starts talking, the camera goes to Penelope. Great foreshadowing. I love it.
Miss Daphne Bridgerton has captured the interest of the newly returned Duke of Hastings. Was truly Lady
Whistledown. And there you have it. That was my breakdown of the Bridgerton episode 1, aka the pilot. Now, I hope you all enjoyed my breakdown of this episode. I really enjoyed watching it and looking at it as a pilot and breaking down overall the aspects that go into making that pilot. So if you have any thoughts on the Bridgerton episode, please leave them down in the comments. I'd love to talk about it and dive into different aspects. It doesn't have to be about writing. It can be about any aspect of it. What do you think of the show? What different aspects do you really love about the show? And leave a comment down below if there are any pilots that you want me to check out. I am going to be doing more episodes of this series, so leave a comment down below if there are any shows that you really want me to check out. Right now, I am sticking to ones that I've already seen, so my next one, I believe, is Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency. I will be doing other ones such as The Magicians and New Girl in the future, so those will be coming in the next months, weeks. They will be coming in the near future. So, yeah. That's all I have for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Give it a big thumbs up if you did. As I said, leave a comment down below if you have any thoughts on the episode and suggestions for other videos. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss an upload, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye!